Gannon Stauch, 11 years old, goes missing January 27th, 2020. There are some interesting interviews and some strange social media out there from Gannon's stepmom, who happens to be the last person that saw him.
The search continues for Gannon Stauch, the missing 11-year-old from Colorado Springs. Today, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office searched several areas of water using sonar to search for any evidence. Kelly Worthman joins us live in the Springs tonight. Kelly, it is a team effort out there.
Karen, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office has received hundreds of tips since Gannon disappeared, but sadly, none of those have led search and rescue crews to the missing boy. But day or night, investigators are doing all they can to find Gannon. Side by side, step by step, more than 100 people spent the day searching for Gannon Stauch.
Our focus again is to bring Gannon home safely to his parents.
Crews have scoured this area before, but this time they have the help of dogs, officers on horseback, and underwater drones to search nearby ponds and reservoirs.
We're doing it again just to ensure that we have a very thorough search.
Several Colorado sheriff's agencies, as well as volunteers from the National Guard, are joining in the efforts to find Gannon. Along with evidence investigators have collected from the missing 11-year-old boy's home, El Paso County authorities are trying to determine where Gannon might be.
We have a big puzzle, and all of these different pieces we're trying to put together.
Even as a winter storm moves in, search and rescue teams will not give up on bringing Gannon home.
We are not going to stop the search for Gannon. That's our #1 goal and focus. So it could be blizzarding, it could be a tornado out here, and we will still be out here searching.
Authorities say they will continue to follow up on each and every lead, but are still asking for the public's help to give them a call or even email them with some helpful information. You will find that contact information.
Now, Gannon's father, Al, he was away that weekend for duty, military duty. And Gannon's mother, Landon, she lives in South Carolina. She was there, and Al and T have custody of Gannon. So they were the ones whose house Gannon's living in, right? And Al's gone, and T was home with Gannon during this period of time when he disappeared. As you will see, this family has a lot of dysfunction and dynamics, and the mother, Landon, and the father, Al, are divorced, and according to what I've read online, they T and Al had an affair, and T was married to Landon's brother. So there's a lot of animosity and anger and stuff that goes on with this family, and obviously when T speaks, you can hear her resentment and anger towards Landon, and I also get the sense that she has this anger and resentment towards Gannon. So again, Sunday, January 26th, stepmom Letecia T said, T in quotes, that's her nickname, said she went hiking at the Garden of Gods. They do have some selfie pictures there. There is a person in the background picture that has verified that that is him and he was there. So again, as the story went on, Sunday really isn't an issue because there is a video camera that you will see from a neighbor that shows Gannon getting in the truck but not coming back with T on Monday when he didn't go to school.
You are?
I am Letecia Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
About the hike, was there a hike? That just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, you know, she came home from work after the hike and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me. And if she doesn't want to, that's okay, but you're allowed to ask her. Sound okay so far?
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in depth because she is still, you know, a child, but I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Garden of the Gods. Okay.
Now, the hike, again, like I said, it was the day before he was last seen, but there may be something to that. And as we speculate and know up to now, where they are searching in these wilderness areas for him, there may be something to the fact that they went on that hike that day before. So just keep that in mind. So this is a map of Garden of the Gods, just so you can get a little bit of a view of what it actually is. There's an RV resort, there's hiking, big wilderness area. And remember when T first called the police about Gannon, she called them and told them he was a runaway. So keep that in mind. Now, that Sunday night, there is an accidentally recorded video that T leaked online. Gannon is crying, and let's just call this the candle incident. Apparently, Gannon did something and spilled a candle or started a fire.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie when the TMZ information was
Gannon, I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise. You promise.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, alright, so, listen. We're going to have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we got to sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever, because we got to get it fixed so the lady don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
Okay, she says she freaked out, so something went on before this while he's crying. She obviously got very angry with him. He's crying like he's scared and hurt, number 2. And number 3, she tells him, okay, we'll figure it out. We're just going to have to sell something, making him feel guilty. No matter what, if she has nothing to do with it, that is crappy ass parenting right there. Making the kid feel guilty for an accident. Okay, we're going to have to sell something. That isn't okay. That right there alone in that little box is not okay. We're not all perfect parents. None of us are perfect parents. But, I mean, come on. She has resentment to this child. You can hear it. I'll go on. You'll see. But first, I want to play the press conference of Gannon's biological parents, his mom Landon and his dad Al. And I want you to remember the difference between Landon and what you're going to see in the demeanor of T.
So I'm begging, I'm pleading, if anybody has any type of lead, put yourself in my situation. Ask yourself, what would you do? My Savior is a great Savior. And I know I have hope and that my son's going to be here.
You are?
I am Letecia Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20-some death threats already. 2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation, I was told I wasn't compliant.
Okay, she's quite the victim, right? He asks her, about the last time she saw. Well, we can't talk about that, but let's talk about me. So let's circle back to the candle incident here. T made a text to Al, her husband, who is Gannon's biological father, regarding this candle incident. Apparently, the candle either caught something on fire or the wax got all over something, but whatever, Gannon was very upset. Remember, she leaked these texts and she leaked the video that she accidentally took of Gannon crying and her saying, "Oh, I freaked out, pinky promise, yada, yada, yada." Not sure, but almost in my mind, well, put the pieces together because I have ideas, but I'm not going to put them out there yet. So T made a text her husband Al regarding this candle incident. Okay. And interestingly enough, it says do panic, but Gannon, weird, kind of like, I know we make mistakes and stuff, but it's kind of interesting that that slip is there, do panic instead of don't panic. But Gannon turned on a candle downstairs and set the downstairs. He is fine, he is scared, and he is saying sorry and freaking out. Now, and set the downstairs, part of this is missing. I don't know why. I don't know if she edited it. I don't know where, if it's missing or why, because a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of groups out there and messages, and T was in all of them at one point and blasting people and saying all this nasty stuff about people. And you'll see, we'll get to all that later because this really isn't the T story, but it might wind up being the T story if she had anything to do this with this disappearance, or if she's covering something up, or if she knows something that she's not saying. So anyways, that's what happened the night before Gannon disappeared, okay? So the next day, which is Monday, he should have gone to school, but she said he didn't. He says he didn't go to school because he had a tummy ache. This was the last day he was seen, was January 27th, 2020. He had a tummy ache and she was going to take him to the doctor, is what she said. So here's where it gets interesting. The neighbor eventually realizes he had video of T leaving with Gannon, but not bringing him back. Watch this news report.
Missing for more than a week now and in need of special medication. ABC News tonight obtaining home surveillance, and authorities now asking, could this be the last time he was seen getting into a car with his stepmother? Here's ABC's Clayton Sandell.
Tonight, investigators searching for 11-year-old Gannon Stauch say they have a possible new clue. It comes from neighbor Roderick, who searched his security camera footage after Gannon went missing. He spotted him at 10:13 a.m. the day he vanished, seen getting into this red pickup truck with his stepmother, Letecia Stauch.
Gannon comes out, he gets in the truck, then she come back in the truck and they leave.
Stauch told investigators her stepson was last seen between 3:15 and 4:15, but Drayton says his video shows her coming home at 2:19 p.m., and there's no sign of Gannon.
I walked over to his father's house, knocked on the door, and I said, here's some video that you might want to see. He broke down, he was like, she lied. He was like, let's call investigators.
Investigators descended on the home Monday.
Any bit of information is very valuable to this case.
Stauch telling investigators and KKTV she doesn't know where Gannon is.
I would never, ever hurt this child.
The boy's biological mom and dad desperate for answers.
I'm begging. Bring my baby home.
We tried reaching Gannon's stepmother. She did not return our calls. In the meantime, police say they have no suspects. David?
Clayton, thank you. When we come back tonight, the well-known surgeon
Letecia Stauch is in jail after being accused of murdering her 11-year-old stepson, Gannon Stauch. This story is completely sickening and heart-wrenching. Letecia Stauch is, in my opinion, one of the most evil humans I have ever heard of. There's an affidavit that shows that authorities believe Gannon Stauch was murdered in his bedroom by his stepmother on the very day that she reported him missing. The rest affidavit outlines allegations against 36-year-old Letecia Stauch, who was arrested in March and has been charged with first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, and tampering, all stemming from the disappearance of her stepson, Gannon Stauch. His body was found March 20th in Florida. The crime took place in Colorado. So somehow Letecia got the body all the way to Florida. She reported him missing January 27th, 2020, and that day the investigators believe he was murdered, and according to the affidavit, which was unsealed, according to the affidavit. Now, evidence recovered from the residence inside Gannon's home, the evidence discovered in Gannon's bedroom that supports the findings, the suspicion that Gannon was brutally, violently killed in his room. That caused bloodshed, including blood splatter on the walls, and enough blood loss to stain his mattress, soaked through the carpet pad, and stain the concrete below his bed. They believe that she discarded his body the next day after cleaning up the scene. It also, in the affidavit, also talks about they did find some evidence recovered from Letecia's phone, which has an internet history that has all kinds of ridiculous searches. For example, police steps for a runaway, police steps for a missing child, find me a new husband, I feel like I'm just a nanny, I'm just a glorified babysitter, find a guy without kids. She did text with her 17-year-old daughter, it says in this most recent affidavit, before calling 911 to report Gannon missing. And she asked her daughter to purchase trash bags, baking soda, and carpet powder.
200 points lay out the evidence allowing police to arrest Letecia Stauch weeks before Gannon's body was tentatively found in Florida. The affidavit alleges Letecia killed Gannon in his bedroom on January 27th, put him in the back of her Volkswagen SUV, then at a later date drove to an area on Highway 105 to get rid of him. Investigators reportedly found evidence of blood in his room and on a piece of a board found along Highway 105.
This is really a very comprehensive affidavit.
Criminal defense attorney Christopher Decker went through the reported evidence with us. Pictures found on Letecia's phone that morning reportedly show Gannon sleeping in his bed alive, and investigators captured their own photos showing the furniture in that room allegedly in a different position. Texts from her phone reportedly show Letecia sent a message to her daughter that evening asking for 2 things of carpet powder, baking soda, and trash bags.
There was clear effort to clean up.
Another big deal for Decker. The affidavit alleges on Valentine's Day, Letecia told her husband 4 different stories of what happened. One says Letecia reportedly stated blood found in Gannon's room was a mixture of hers and his.
The only person that would know that would either be a forensic examiner or a person who was present at the time of the murder.
And last, Google searches. The affidavit alleges she made searches like, find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. Why should my husband choose me over family? One day, some people will wish they treated you differently. I feel like just a nanny, not a stepmom.
Those are supportive of the prosecution's theory here, which is this is a woman who was very unhappy in her marriage. She was led to this horrific murder because she was lashing out.
They found droplets in Gannon. They found droplets of blood in Gannon's room, including inside the electrical sockets, in Gannon's sneakers, and in her car. They believe that Gannon's body was in the car for 24 hours. If you've been following my channel, you know that I'm a registered nurse, and my specialty is high-risk pregnancies, high-risk OB. My background before working high-risk OB was labor and delivery, and I did hands-on with a lot of high-risk patients. I was at the bedside when many premature babies were delivered. Gannon could have been one of those babies. Gannon was a premature baby. Gannon was about 1.5 pounds when he was born. Very early to be 1.5 pounds. I would guess he had to be between 24 and 26 weeks, and you're not due until 40 weeks. So literally a little more than halfway through the pregnancy, this child was born and probably lived in the NICU for quite some time. And those parents are so scared and so worried and so heartbroken, just hoping and praying that their child lives. And that is how I imagine Landon and Albert sitting by Gannon's side And it's really scary and sad to know that that child that was their miracle baby, could be taken by some evil stepmother. You know, those moms sit there and they pump their breast milk and they sit there at the bedside and they don't get enough sleep and they're recovering from delivering from either a C-section, which most likely a baby that small would have been a C-section. So after major abdominal surgery, a C-section, and sitting next to your baby at 1 pound, 1.5 pounds, and not knowing it's going to live is heartbreaking and so frightening for them. And as a nurse, we've always prayed and prayed for these babies, you know. And so to think about Gannon and how happy they must have been the day they took him home and how elated they must have been to watch him grow and reach milestones and become a normal child, it blows my mind. And it was truly a miracle. And it is just heartbreaking that somebody could take that away. And several weeks later, she was being extradited back to Colorado after her arrest in South Carolina. They do believe she provided false information. She changed her story often. At one point, she told the detectives that he had gone to a friend's house. Later, she claimed she was raped at gunpoint by some stranger, and they took off with Gannon. They also alleged she amended her details about her alibi. I mean, she just told so many stories, and she changed and changed and changed. Her husband did work with the police officers, the authorities, and he has initiated a divorce. And then again, he has recorded information where she changed her story again. She told her husband, that a man lying in the middle of the road jumped into her slowed car and raped her before abducting Gannon. There were no injuries on Letecia. At one point, she told police Gannon fell from his bike and injured his head before being abducted by 2 men who pulled up in a car. As far as the timeline goes, the father of Gannon is Albert Stauch. He was born September 20th, 1982. Letecia, who is his current wife, and the stepmother and the suspect, was born August 4th, 1983, and she has a daughter. Her daughter's name is Harley Hunt, and she was born May 1st, 2002. Gannon was a premature baby, only about 1.5 pounds when he was born, so he was very early preemie, probably 24 to 26 weeks, I would imagine, with that weight. He was born September 29th in 2008, and his little sister, Lena, was born on January 22nd, 2012. Letecia has a little bit of an interesting background. Her teaching certificate, apparently she was a teacher, was suspended in North Carolina on May 11th, 2016. On the night, well, now we move closer to what happened. On 2 nights before the Gannon's murder, Albert, the father, was in Denver that night. And there were Google searches that day, the 25th of January 2020, from Letecia complaining about being a step-parent and finding another man. On the 26th of January, Albert flew from Denver to Dallas to Oklahoma. There are also Google searches that day from Letecia complaining about being step-parent and finding another man, and also that day, per Letecia, Gannon burned the carpet, and she met Eduardo and asked him to repair a carpet. On the 27th at 12:09 a.m., there are Google searches related to burned carpet.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie, when the TMZ information...
Gannon, I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, we promise. We promise. On purpose. Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, all right. So, listen. We're going to have to sell stuff to fix it.
Okay? So we figure out what we got to sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever. Because we got to get it fixed so the lady don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
There are also Google searches at 12:55 a.m. for latchkey situations. And at 4:37 a.m., she texts school that father was killed in an accident. I'll have to get back to you on that one. On the 27th as well, there's a Google search at 4:40 a.m. for suede sofa repair. At 6:54 a.m., a Google search for El Paso police sheriff. And then at 8:13 a.m., there's a photo of Gannon she has a photo from her phone of Gannon in his bed. At 8:13 and 8:17, she has snap photos. At 8:30 a.m., her 17-year-old daughter, Letecia's 17-year-old daughter, that morning, January 27th at 8:30 a.m., arrived at work, and that was verified by the police department. At 9:56 a.m. that day, the 27th, Letecia's cell phone was locked. And on 127 again, at 10 o'clock in the morning, Letecia and Lena only had access. Letecia and Lena only had access to Gannon. On that same morning at 10:12, the ADT monitor shows activity in the house stops. At 10:16 a.m., Letecia and Gannon are seen on Ring camera leaving the house. At 10:37 a.m., a text from Gannon's phone to Harley. Letecia left her phone at home. At 10:22, there's Petco surveillance at 5020 North Nevada, and Gannon is not seen. At 11:22 a.m., Letecia's time is unaccounted for, per the affidavit. And at 12:06 p.m., Gannon's phone received a text from Albert. There was a reply at 1:21 p.m. to Albert from Gannon's phone. Then at 1:22, Letecia's time is unaccounted for. There's 1:22, there's Petco surveillance at 5020 North Nevada again. And at 1:43 p.m., there's a search on Gannon's phone for finding cell phone if it's turned off. So at 2:14 p.m. on the 27th, the police department thinks Gannon was murdered in the house about that moment. At 2:19, Letecia appears to return alone on the Ring camera. And at 2:22, the ADT monitor shows activity in the house starts. At 2:30 p.m. per Letecia, she arrived home, turned off alarm, and was raped by Eduardo. I guess apparently he was, in her story, fixing the carpet and raped her. At 2:45 p.m., Letecia's cell phone is unlocked. And at 3:11, Lena gets off the school bus. At 3:15, Lena, who is Gannon's sister, arrives home, and Lena says Letecia said Gannon is in her bed and go play. So Lena, the little sister, gets home, and Letecia tells her, Gannon's in my bed, go play. At 3:15 p.m. per Letecia, she greeted Lena and told her to go play. Police interview that came from. At 3:15 per Letecia, Gannon went to play with friends. That was in the initial interview. At 3:28 p.m., the ADT monitoring shows front door of house open and closed. And at 3:30, it shows the monitoring back door of the house open and closed 10 times in the last hour. At 3:30 per Letecia, she went back into the basement and was assaulted again. All right, you guys, this story is just insane. Really, you went in and out, and you went back to the basement and got assaulted again. You didn't call the police when you were, I can't even. At 3:30, the video shows Lena riding her bike. At 3:41, there's a text message on Letecia's phone to Albert or Harley. And at 3:42, video shows Lena riding her bike again. At 3:42, from 3:42, 3:43, 3:44, and 3:45, there are text messages back to either Harley or Albert. At 3:55, Gannon's phone received a text from Albert. And at 4:11, a text message on Letecia's phone to Albert or Harley. At 4:15, Harley leaves work, and that is verified by the police department. And remember, Harley is her 17-year-old daughter. At 4:19, there's a text message on Letecia's phone to Albert or Harley, and again at 4:20. At 4:30, per Letecia, the assault ended. At 4:30, per Letecia, Eduardo tried to rape her again and kidnapped Gannon. At 4:42, Harley picked up Lena from the house in a VW Jetta. And at 4:52, Letecia sent Harley a text to pick up cleaning supplies. At 5:14, Harley was at dollar store, and there was a receipt found in the VW. And at 5:34, so that was at 5:14, Harley was at the dollar store. And at 5:34, Letecia and Lena only had access to Gannon. At 6 p.m. per Letecia, Gannon was due back home. She said this in her initial interview. At 6:55, Letecia reports Gannon missing to the police. At 7:40, Albert's text read on Gannon's phone. And at 10:09 p.m., the police department arrived at 6627 Mandan Drive, which is the Stauch's house. At 10:09, the police begin the search of the house and the police photos of Gannon's room. Estimate based on arrival of the police. And then the next morning is January 28th at 4:15 a.m. Google search for runaway kids. At 4:36 a.m., Google search for flight Oklahoma City to somewhere. At 8:17 a.m., Letecia visited Priceline.com looking for a rental car. At 8:30 a.m., Letecia arrives at Colorado Springs Airport in the VW Tiguan. There's a parking receipt. And at that morning, she rented the white Kia Rio. At 8:48 a.m., Letecia texts Harley to pull her VW Jetta into the garage. At 8:50 a.m., Letecia picks Albert up at Colorado Springs Airport in the Kia Rio. At 12:57 p.m., Letecia searches Nintendo Switch on her phone, and at 4:04 p.m., at 4:04 p.m., the police department asks Letecia for toothbrushes. At 4:19 p.m., there's a Google search for police department inquiry about toothbrushes. And at 4:31 p.m., Letecia texts Albert about her concerns about the police investigation. Yeah, she better have some concerns. At 7:02 p.m., the VW Tiguan is unaccounted for per the affidavit. And at 7:02 p.m., she removes the VW Tiguan from the Colorado Springs Airport. There's a parking receipt. At 8:08 p.m., the car data video shows the VW Tiguan in King Soopers parking lot for 10 minutes. And at 8:30 p.m., AT&T shows the VW Tiguan entering the area of Northwest Colorado Springs, Harley's cell at the house. At 9:15 p.m., car data video shows the VW Tiguan near Highway 104 and South Perry Park, Palmer Lake for 15 minutes, the police say. The police say Letecia disposed of Gannon Stauch at Highway 105 and South Perry Park, Palmer Lake. AT&T shows the VW Tiguan leaving area of Northwest Colorado Springs, and Harley's cell phone is at the house. At 10:26 p.m., Harley's cell pings near Powers and Carefree. Police department believe Harley picks up Letecia. At 10:45 p.m., we're still on January 28th, Letecia asks the police department what they want from her and questions why she can't go home and why her minor child cannot leave. At 9 a.m. on the 29th, she returned the white Kia Rio. It has driven 71 miles and drove home in the white VW Jetta with Harley. At 10 a.m., Letecia misses a scheduled visit with the police department. At 11:30 a.m., the VW Tiguan unaccounted for per affidavit. At 11:30 a.m., Letecia washes the VW Tiguan, place where she would have washed the car. You can see it here, Plate and Bonfo. At East Plate and Bonfo. At 12 p.m., Letecia arrives at the police department in the VW Tiguan. At 12 p.m., the police seize the VW Tiguan, and Letecia rents a silver Nissan Altima. Police department put GPS trackers on the silver Nissan. On January 31st at 4:16 p.m., Letecia returns to Palmer Lake area, and that evening, police believe Letecia is checking on Gannon's body and disposing of evidence. At 5:13 p.m., Letecia leaves Palmer Lake area. On February 1st, Letecia returned the silver Nissan Altima, and the FBI searched the VW Tiguan. On February 13th, Letecia explained the presence of Gannon's blood to Albert, and the info was not released by the police department. On February 14th, during several calls to Albert, Letecia changed her story to fit circumstances revealed in media. And on February 15th, police department found particle board with Gannon's blood near Highway 105 and South Perry Park, Palmer Lake. On February 15th as well, Letecia admitted to Albert that she lied to him about Gannon falling off a bike. And on February 17th, Letecia admits to a friend that the police department doesn't know where she is, that she's evading. On 2/17 at 4:11 p.m., Letecia tells friend that she's going to take a private lie detector test. And on February 18th at 10:14 a.m., Letecia attempted to obtain fake polygraph test results. And on February 18th at 11:16 a.m., she complained that she has declined for a fake polygraph. Fast forward to March 2nd, Letecia Stauch was arrested on March 2nd and allegedly lied to police repeatedly while changing her story.
New details tonight. After months of questions, we're getting some possible answers that are hard to hear about the murder of 11-year-old Gannon Stauch. His stepmom, Letecia Stauch, charged with the crime. Her arrest affidavit unsealed to the public today. Newside's Colette Bordelon breaking down the gruesome picture it paints.
Originally, this was going to be unsealed next week, but the courts decided to do it today since a copy was leaked on social media. The paperwork shows a series of lies, an attempt to get fake polygraph results, and Gannon's blood throughout the Stauch home. For a while now, we've only had bits and pieces.
We can see a picture if we only have half of the puzzle.
But now, a picture becoming more clear, no matter how devastating the details.
There's a significant pool of blood. There's blood splatter. There's blood on her car.
Attorney Stephen Longo weighed in on the unsealed arrest affidavit for Letecia Stauch.
It really shuts the door on any potential credibility she might try to have.
It all started January 27th when Gannon stayed home from school with his stepmom, Letecia. Surveillance shows them leaving the home around 10. They get back after 2. Letecia's phone was left at home the whole day and not unlocked until around 30 minutes after she returned. Then, right before 5, a text sent to her daughter asking for cleaning supplies detectives say are commonly used to clean blood. Then just before 7, Letecia calls 911, saying Gannon never came home from a friend's house. Documents show that would be the first of many scenarios she shared with detectives in the days to come. Investigators believe Gannon was killed in his bedroom between 2 and 5:30 that day.
I think the only potential plea agreement would be a matter of efficiency for her to plead to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Longo says that's the best option for the defense, which also has to account for a defendant who showed strange behavior after her stepson's disappearance, like washing her car before a police interview and bringing notes to it, along with giving alibis and excuses for certain evidence that hadn't been revealed to the public yet. Detectives also believe Letecia initially tried to dispose of Gannon's body January 28th near Perry Park. They found evidence that had been there, but was later moved. These papers were filed before Gannon's body was believed to have been found in Florida. I have talked to the coroner's office down there. They say that autopsy could be released to the public, but that's up to the attorneys in this case. Stauch's next hearing has been rescheduled for late June. If you'd like to see the full arrest paperwork, go to KOAA.com. Always watching out for you, Southern Colorado. Colette Bordelon, News 5.
Letecia Stauch was arrested on March 2nd. She was arrested in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and she was arrested on that day, Monday morning, on charges of first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with evidence. She chose not to fight extradition on March 3rd. She remained in custody at this point in South Carolina. She was in custody until she was extradited back. She was arrested on those murder charges related to the disappearance and presumed death of her stepson, Gannon, which we now know was definitely dead, and his body was found in Florida. She was fired from a middle school teaching job just days before the boy went missing. She was going through orientation for a job at Mountain Ridge Middle School in Academy District 20 when her conditional employment offer was rescinded. They rescinded her employment offer after finding inconsistencies in her employment application. She had access to children and that the district is in process of notifying Mountain Ridge School student families. Okay. She previously worked in Widefield School District in southern El Paso County. She received her Colorado teaching license on March of 2019, and she was a substitute teacher in the district during the spring semester of 2019. She was then hired at a French elementary where she taught from August until November when she resigned. So she was participating in 3 days of orientation at Mountain Ridge Middle School. And she was fired on January 24th, just 3 days before Gannon went missing. So she was only working there from January 22nd to January 24th. Again, then she was arrested in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on a warrant for charges including first-degree murder. She did not fight extradition. She arrived in Colorado Springs on that Thursday morning. So she arrived, she was arrested on Monday the 2nd. She arrived back in Colorado Springs on the 5th of March. So when she was arrested, there had still not been a body. And the press conference with her mother is just heartbreaking with her family, her father. But at that point, they realized that Gannon is not alive.
5 weeks now after Gannon Stauch vanished in Colorado Springs, and investigators say the 11-year-old is dead. And this is now a murder investigation. Right now, Gannon's stepmother is in custody. We're covering Colorado First at 5, also streaming on CBSN Denver.
The arrest comes even though investigators do not know where Gannon's body is. Gannon's mom talked about the disturbing developments.
Really, I'm not in the correct mindset to be even standing up here, but if I had to say one thing, that when he said Gannon is no longer with us, I'd have to say Gannon is with us. After the stories of people from all over the world, he's not only my hero now, he's the world's hero. So I think the community, the positive support from a state that I've never visited other than 2 or 3 times, I'm astounded by the amount of love that's not come from me. It's came from my boy. And never thought I'd be standing here. It was a nightmare. I've had to put trust in the people I don't know. Today, I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously, we know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served. And I'll make sure that justice is served because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him.
Rick Salinger was there in the Springs as Gannon's mother spoke today, and Rick, investigators are determined to find his body.
Well, they certainly are, Karen. This all began when Gannon's stepmother reported him as a runaway. Later, it turned into a missing and endangered person case. And now people have been coming here all day with flowers and teddy bears as this has become a murder case. 5 weeks ago today, it was at this home Gannon Stauch was last seen. And now the woman who reported him missing is charged with his murder.
This morning, just after 8 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, Letecia Stauch was taken into custody in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina without incident by law enforcement officers from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the Denver and Columbia divisions of the FBI.
A month ago, Letecia Stauch told KKTV in Colorado Springs investigators suspected her.
I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave.
Further suspicion was raised through security camera video recorded by a neighbor. On the day Gannon disappeared, he was believed seen with his stepmother, leaving before he was reported missing. Then her truck returns without him.
While we have not yet found Gannon, information has been developed that is helping us narrow our search. As you can see from the arrest, sadly, we do not believe Gannon is alive.
Massive, relentless searches have failed to turn up the boy. Now family members held hands and shed tears. The G-Man, as they called Gannon, was not coming home. Gannon's stepmother is also charged with child abuse, destroying evidence, and desecration of a body. Live in Colorado Springs, Rick Salinger, covering Colorado First.
At some point, you know, she did stare Letecia down in court when she was charged. Then late March, police finally announced they found the remains they believed to be Gannon, and it was 2,000 miles from his home. It was found in Florida.
We have a sad update tonight in the Gannon Stauch case. The 11-year-old boy's body believed to have been found in Florida. His stepmom reported him missing back in January, and as News 5's Colette Bordelon explains, she is now facing 9 new charges accused of his murder.
Those charges against Gannon's stepmom, Letecia Stauch, stemming from that discovery, which happened Wednesday of this week when our sheriff's office got a call from deputies in Florida saying they found a young boy's body and after an autopsy are tentatively identifying him as Gannon. His mark left on Lorson Ranch. With an update on Friday.
Every heart broke.
After remains found in Florida potentially point to Gannon.
How does a person think like that to do something so heinous?
Kelly Gasper lives across the street from the Stauch home.
We'd have the windows open, we'd hear the kids playing outside. That's the best sound, is the kids outside playing. And he was one of them.
A boy she believes deserves answers.
How do you get from Colorado to Florida with a body and not be noticed?
The discovery changing the case for the prosecution.
Anytime you have a homicide case, the body has a lot of evidence associated with it, and I'm speaking in only a general sense.
Now, 13 charges filed against Letecia Stauch, including the standard first-degree murder charge and 8 crimes of violence, including use of a firearm, blunt object, and a knife or something similar.
We met with the family earlier today, and obviously they're distraught with this information. They were still holding out hope that Gannon would come home alive despite the original charges that we filed in this case.
Lead prosecutor on the case, Michael Allen, says even though Gannon's body was potentially found in Florida, they believe the crimes happened in Colorado. Otherwise, they couldn't charge her here.
I'm going to miss hearing his laughter with the rest of the kids out in the street playing.
While neighbors work to remember a young boy taken too soon.
Justice will be served. If it's not here on earth, it'll be up in heaven.
Only time will tell what happened to Gannon, as his stepmom sits in jail, accused of the crime. Letecia Stauch is still scheduled to appear in court on April 14th. Allen says despite COVID-19, in-custody cases like hers are still being heard at this time. Meanwhile, the investigation continues, with the sheriff's office wanting to hear from anyone who might have seen Stauch in Florida at the beginning of February. Always watching out for you, El Paso County. Colette Bordelon, News 5.
Gannon's body was stuffed in a suitcase. A source had said that his body was stuffed in a suitcase under an overpass in Florida. It does preliminary investigations reveal that he was hit with a blunt object, stabbed, and shot. His family has had to delay his funeral due to the COVID-19 coronavirus. And then after the body was discovered, they did announce more charges. She's now being charged with first-degree murder with intent and deliberation and 8 other crime of violence charges. The murder charge alone could give her a life sentence without parole, and officials have tried to piece together the timeline of the disappearance as they received conflicting stories of Letecia. When they asked about some blood that was found in Gannon's room, she told the investigators she told the police that it was a nosebleed from a nosebleed. Arrest records of Letecia reveal she had been arrested for a string of crimes, including battery, domestic abuse, and theft. On March 5th, parents of Mountain Ridge Middle School were sent a letter regarding Letecia, and it does say we are required by law to inform parents when an employee has been charged with certain crimes. On Monday, March 2nd, Academy District 20 learned that a teacher applicant, Miss Letecia Stauch, was arrested. Due to the nature of Mrs. Stauch's arrest, verifiable information is limited, and details related to this case are currently sealed by the court. Therefore, specific pending charges are unknown at this time. However, Sheriff Bill Elder has said Ms. Stauch was arrested on an arrest warrant, preliminary charge with first-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death, and other charges. Ms. Stauch participated in 3 days of orientation before the district rescinded its conditional offer of employment. Academy 20 is providing notification to parents, students enrolled in Mountain Ridge Middle School, where Mrs. Stauch was considered for hire as a teacher. Please note the pending charges have no connection to the Academy, District 20, students, or staff members. When any employee is hired, Academy District 20, we conduct a full background check, including a Colorado Bureau of Investigation review, which revealed Ms. Stauch was eligible for hire. Additional due diligence and reference checks revealed inconsistent information. Please keep in mind all citizens are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. If you or a child have any information to report about Ms. Stauch or have any additional questions, please contact Brian Grady, Executive Director for Security, at 719-234-1200 or brian.grady@asd20.org. There's a huge, long, much of this is redacted, but it is the charges for her. Count 1, murder in the first degree. Count 2, child abuse resulting in death. Count 3, tampering with a deceased human body. And Count 4, tampering with physical evidence. It goes on to explain everything we just went over. And then it does endorsed witness list. There's so many people. I'm just going to scroll. FBI agents, first on here. Robert Elbow Newcloud, a man named James at Avis Rental Car, Adrian Beckwith, Nolan Bloss, Tomoko Booth, who is a Nintendo product support specialist, Kevin Bradford from Big Wave Car Wash, Brett David Burks from Kohl's. Then there's some other names: Magali Callow, Kaylee Coffin, Caitlin Collar, Andrew Conant, Tristan Conant, Peyton Sorillos, Deanne Chapman, Victor Cortez, Corey, Jamie Derrickton, Kristen Darr, Ismael Diaz, Jeanette Dietrich, Sean Drake, Alan Dew, and Jamie Duckworth, and then the Eduardo person who supposedly she was accusing of attacking her and raping her. Bill Eller, Felix Enquist, Cooper Farmer, Kyle Fields, Michelle Fox, Amanda Gamel, lots and lots of names. Okay. Enterprise Risk Manager, Walker Sears, Tristan Shear, Francis Simlick, Eugene Stauch. Defendant is born on 8/4/1983. She is female, 130 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Is divorce documents. Albert filed for divorce. This was filed on March 5th, 2020. Parties were married on January 17th, 2015 in Charleston, South Carolina. They were separated as of February 2020. The wife is not pregnant. There are no minor children of this marriage. So we know that Letecia Stauch is in jail, and we know that Gannon has passed away, and we know it's a horrible time due to the coronavirus. His parents can't even have a funeral for him, and we know this is one of the most horrific stories. And I just wanted to bring you up to date on what I knew and what I was able to research. And as things go on, I will definitely update again, because this is an incredible story, and it's actually just one of the most heartbreaking stories that I've ever heard in my life. Poor little Gannon. I mean, can you imagine as a nurse, those preemie babies, those 1 and 2 pound babies. I talk to moms that have had those babies that sit next to them. I talk to them every day at my day job. They sit next to their little NICU babies, and they worry and stress and don't sleep and pump to get breast milk for these babies, and watch them, like mommy hawks, and to imagine any baby, but one that would have been so touch and go from the minute it was born. The baby was a miracle. If a 1.5 pound baby lives, to become a normal child, that is a miracle. And Letecia, whatever you want to call her, is probably one of the most horrible mothers, stepmother, that you would ever hear about in your life. Poor Gannon. May his memory be eternal, and may he rest in peace, and may justice be served on Letecia, and we will continue to follow. This has been an episode of Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Catherine.